Excuse me. Should I do that separately? One more time. If we scroll a little further down, why are words hard? Where did I just leave off? No. Wow, what is wrong with me today? Hello, my friends, and welcome to another video. I am Chris, and we are in the thick of the holiday season. I got festive and decided to decorate the office a little, to decorate myself a little. And I actually have a free gift for you guys today. That sounded way less cheesy in my head. I finally have finished up that free pricing tool that I mentioned in some of my other videos for you all today. But before we get into that and I show you my makes, there's going to be timestamps in the description as always, so you can skip ahead and move around and see what you want to see. But I do want to cover some housekeeping items real quick before we get started. The first of which is an update on Jack Skellington. I know several of you are invested in this story as much as I am, so I wanted to kind of give you an update. So after I finished filming last week's video and I took all of the photos of Jack, I went ahead and messaged the customer on Instagram with the photos, as well as the link that I had created in Square. If you recall, the last time I messaged her saying I was getting started and stuff, I hadn't heard back, so I was a little unsure of what was going to be happening. This time around, she actually responded really quickly and said she loved him. She thought he looked incredible, but she was having trouble getting the link to open. I had tested it just by kind of clicking it from different accounts and stuff like that within my household, and it worked. But I did not test it from trying to open it in Instagram, so I kind of wasn't sure if that might be the issue. And I went in and tried some things. She sent me a screenshot where it would just spin. So I tried a few things on my end. I ended up accidentally deleting the link. So I had to create another one and send that to her. So I was like, hey, I accidentally deleted it when I was trying to fix it. Here's a new one. My only thought is you might need to kind of copy the link and paste it in a browser and open it that way, because it's successful on every other account or device that I try that way. And I did try to send it to another account in our household for Instagram, and it opened okay there. But so I just kind of like left it at that. And then she did respond after that saying that, please don't sell him. I definitely want to get him. I just need to wait kind of for some paycheck situation stuff to iron out. So I told her basically no pressure. He is not for anyone else. And the link is going to be good until January 1st. Wished her a happy holiday if I don't speak to her before then, and just kind of left it at that. She said, you too. And that's kind of where we left off. So he is still with me at this point in time. I did package him in the sense that I put him in a clear plastic, because the white yarn, I always feel like it looks dirty almost immediately, and it freaks me out. So I just wanted to keep him kind of protected. And then he's with all of my other seasonal plushies, and he will remain there until we figure things out. So that is the update on Jack. Another quick kind of housekeeping item you may notice, may not notice, but I don't have the Invisaligns anymore right now. I had issues with the trays. They've reordered a bunch. So just as I was getting used to them and kind of thinking I was talking without them sounding weird, I'm going to have to start over again in a few weeks. So I'll let you know when that occurs, because yeah, it's just, it's an interesting thing to get used to, but anyway. And one last thing is I want to say a big thank you for everyone who's been subscribing recently. I really, really appreciate it. I'm so excited at the growth in this channel and this little community. What's really interesting to me though is that YouTube is telling me like half the people that watch my videos aren't actually subscribed. So if you are watching and you are not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. It really, really does help me out a lot. All right. Let's get into the free pricing tool. Before we jump in and I share my screen, a couple of things to note about the pricing tool. So this one downloads just like the barcode tool, if you did get that one, where basically the link in the description box is to my website. You will go on there, enter your email address, and then click the button, and that's going to download the file for you. I don't have any plans for any kind of regular recurring emails or anything like that. So I'm just trying to use the functionality in the website and have an emailing list so that when it does launch, I can let everyone know. But if you get that and you don't want anything else from me after that, you can just click unsubscribe. So that is how the tool downloads. The tool can be opened in Excel or in Google Sheets, and it seems to work fine there. It's not something that has been tested in Apple Numbers, but you're free to try it out there and see how it works. Let me know in the comments if you do, so I know for future reference. Another thing to note is that this tool will price in two different ways for you. The first is by an hourly rate. So if you're someone who charges by the hour for your labor, that is in this tool. And the second is kind of how I price things, where you can say, this is the net I want to take home on this plushie, and it'll do everything else for you there as well. This is set up for you to kind of see what the thought process was in pricing the items out. So it essentially does one item at a time. I am planning a version 2 of this where you will do the same kind of exercise and kind of essentially say, yep, I'm good with that pricing, click it, and then it will add it to your inventory for you. And then I will combine that with the SKU generator and the barcode piece. But I have not been able to dedicate the time to get that finished yet, so I will be working on that soon, and I will let you all know when that is released. And I just want to give a shout out real quick to the two folks who offered to help me test this tool. So Tracy from Travel Crochet and Amanda from Eclectic Scribbles, thank you so much for all of your help and your feedback. And a super special shout out to Amanda, because Amanda is an Excel wizard. Amanda has been jumping into this thing and even doing a lot of the work to get version 2 up and running. So I really do appreciate it. All right, I'm going to share my screen and let's go through how this pricing tool works. All right, when you first open up the tool, you'll notice there's two tabs here. There's the instructions tab and then the actual price calculator. So the instructions tab is just that. It's going to kind of walk you through some of what we're talking about in the video today. So it's something just to have as a quick reference. If you have any questions, you can always obviously come back and watch the video again if you need to as well. I'm going to go ahead and click over into the price calculator, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here so that you guys can see a little better what we're doing. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fill out some of our cost of materials and fees. If you notice, there are a bunch of white boxes. Those are the boxes that you can fill in. If you do not want to account for something, you can just leave it blank, and that's perfectly fine. And then you'll see there's an example column, and that's just me giving you an example that I might use, just so you kind of understand what kind of value is expected in the white box. So I'm going to actually go ahead and enter some of this information. So I'm going to say that my tax is 7%. Now you've got processing fees for the per transaction, and you have the processing fee for the percentage. So for example, if you use Square, they might be charging you a 15-cent per transaction fee. So if there's 10 plushies purchased in that one transaction, it's 15 cents flat. And then you have the card processing fee on top of that, where it's the percentage of the purchase price. So for my case, in my example, I had 15 cents for the per transaction, and it's 2.6% for the card processing fee. And then I'm just letting you know, the fees shouldn't vary by item. This is something that should be static essentially for everything. Card processing fees may not always apply. So you may sell it for cash. This is just adding a little buffer to it so that if you do sell it for cash, then you have an extra, 2.6%. And this is assuming that your retail price that you're charging your customer already includes tax. If you have a system where in your Square or whatever it is, you're charging tax on top of the item, then you don't have to actually fill in that tax space because you're obviously collecting that separately and paying that separately. All right, next up is our material cost section. Now, these are things that can vary by plushie. And again, this tool is designed to kind of give you a pricing for a single plushie, and then version 2 will kind of put it all together for you in a database. But in this instance, I am just saying 6 cents per gram, and I actually use a flat rate no matter what yarn I'm using. I calculated and took the time to see how much all of the yarns cost and what it is per gram based on how much I purchase it for. And I came up with 6 cents for myself. There's a little bit of padding in there because some of the yarns are a little less expensive. You can choose to say this particular item is made of XYZ yarn, and that particular yarn costs me a certain amount. You can just plug that in here. Next is I have a single pair of safety eyes. Now, if you're using just the plain black ones and you buy them in bulk and they're like 10 cents each, you can put that here. If you're someone who does not hand paint your own eyes and you bought a pair off of Etsy and they were $3.95, you can plug that here. If you're someone who paints your own eyes like I do, I put in $1 and that just accounts for the cost of the actual eyes themselves. And it's actually got some padding in there. It's not $1 a pair. And then I add a 75-cent charge if this particular plushie obviously has hand-painted eyes. Again, if you don't want to use any of these or they're not applicable, you can just leave them blank and it won't hurt anything. And then I have a charge for poly pellets. So if you want to plug that in here and you didn't use it on the plushie, that's fine. I'll show you how that works later. But I ended up calculating 0.01 per gram, so it's a penny. And then I have an accessory charge. This is for things that we often forget. So an example of that would be something like my voodoo dolls, and I put those little pins, those wooden skewers in them. This could be that you've made a plushie that has buttons on the eyes, or maybe it's a gingerbread guy and it's got buttons down the middle. This is anything else if you put gems. So when I made my Frost Guardian and I used all those crystals, I would put like 10 bucks here, you know. So you can put whatever it is that might be applicable. Let's say in this case, this plushie that I'm going to price out doesn't have any other accessories. That's fine. And then if you are taking this plushie to market or if you are shipping this plushie out, is there a packaging cost involved? So at my markets, I think I came up with like a 55-cent charge or 60 cents. I ended up adding 80, I want to say, to my actual costing, but you can put something in here. Let's say, you know, your bags cost you 50 cents a bag. So then you can go ahead and plug that in here. If it's something where you're going to be shipping the plushie and you want to account for a shipping fee in here, you can do that as well. Any dollar amount that you put in is going to be added to that overall charge. Next up is a labor section. Now, I myself do not charge an hourly rate in my pricing. I base my pricing off of what I want to take home on the particular plushie. But if you are someone who times how long it takes you and you want to go with an hourly rate, that's where you would plug this in here. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in a $15 an hour rate just for sake of this example. All right, now let's get into the particulars of the plushie so we can get a price on it. My screen is really zoomed in, so you probably won't have to scroll anywhere, but I'm going to scroll up to the top back where I can see my two big arrows here. And what this tells you is that if you want to price by time, you're going to expand here. If you want to price by net, you'll expand here. We'll go through both of these, but we'll start with the by time one. So just go ahead and click the plus at the top, and that's going to expand that for you. And again, you won't have to scroll around like I'm doing, but I'm zoomed in for sake of being able to show you everything on the screen. So everything is going off of the weight of this plushie. So we're going to go ahead and say the particular plushie we're talking about weighs 200 grams. And just for sake of an example, we're going to say we put in 20 grams of poly pellets. The thought is that when you're putting your poly pellets in, you're weighing those ahead of time. If you don't want to bother with any of that, one thing that you could do is just add an extra penny to your per gram cost for yarn and stuffing. And then whenever you do have poly pellets, it's going to weigh more, and that just takes the plushie weight. So either way is fine. And then we're going to go ahead and enter how long it took us to make this plushie. So let's say this particular plushie took 1 hour and 15 minutes. And that's going to tell us the suggested price for this one is $36. And if we scroll down, you can see how this cost breaks down. So we've got $10.80 in yarn and stuffing, the $1.75 for the eyes, 20 cents for the poly pellets. We had no accessories on this one, and the 50 cents for the packaging, which brings our material cost to $13.25. We have $18.75 in labor because we said the plushie took 1 hour and 15 minutes at $15 per hour. And if you scroll a little further down, you will see kind of a backing into of that price, because things like your square fees should only come out of the cost before taxes. So in this instance, this would be a price of $33.64 plus the tax that you're collecting. Again, this is assuming your tax is built in. If it's not, then your flat rate would be here. But your price before tax is $33.64. Your tax would be $2.36. The card processing fee would be 80 cents. The transaction fee would be 15 cents, which brings your net before your costs come out of $32.62 net. Then if we take out the $13.25 for materials and you pay yourself the labor of $18.75, that would leave an additional 62 cents, let's say, to kind of go back into the business. Now, I don't know how everyone works things out. If you are someone who truly does pay yourself that hourly rate, this is kind of what goes back into the business. You may want to increase the price of the plushie to say, I want the company to get at least X dollars for this plushie in addition to the amount I'm paying myself. I'm going to guess that most crocheters don't literally pay themselves the hourly rate for the exact hours that they worked, but if that's something that you do and you want additional money back into the company, of course, you can just increase the price. One thing I want to mention in this total market price is everything will not back out exactly because I am always rounding up. So you'll notice there's a little bit of cushion everywhere, which is just kind of for sake of making sure that if anything is missed, we might be able to get those pennies back. All right, let's take a look at how this would work out if we were going based off of a desired net take home. So scrolling back up to the top, just because I'm zoomed in, I'm going to go ahead and collapse the materials and time and expand the by net. So again, same concept here when it comes to what we're plugging in for the plushie. Let's use the exact same example. So 200 was the weight of the plushie and 20 grams of poly pellets. And then in this particular instance, I'm going to say that I want to take home for this plushie $20. So now this is going to tell me that my suggested retail based off wanting to take home $20 after my expenses is $37. This one's going to be exactly the same when it comes to the material costs because we use the same 200 grams and 20 grams of poly pellets. So our material cost is $13.25. And if I scroll down, then you'll see the same kind of backing into that number. Prices before tax on this one would be $35.51. Tax would be $2.49. The card processing fee would be 92 cents. The transaction fee would be 15 cents, and the net before costs would be $34.44. And again, in this instance, we're not doing time, we're just removing the materials, which is $13.25, which brings you to a total net into the company of $21.19. One of the things that I think is kind of interesting about this tool is you can take a look at these side by side to see if you really did pay yourself an hourly rate, what would the net be versus if you were just guesstimating kind of what you'd like to take home. It certainly opened my eyes on a couple of things and I've made some price adjustments. And that's pretty much it. It's a simple tool, but it does a lot of the calculating and heavy lifting for you, which I think is really handy. Feel free to play with this however you would like. The price calculator tab is locked for the protection of whoever may not be super Excel savvy and they're afraid to mess up any fields. That way your formulas are safe. There's not going to be any issues. If you are Excel savvy, the password for that is in the instruction tab. It's unlock with a capital U. So you can feel free to unlock this. You can duplicate that tab, that price tab, if you want to, so that you can play with different formulas. You can add more to your fees, and do things like that. I think it's really helpful to at least kind of step back and take a look at some of the numbers. My hope with this tool was just to help anyone out who may want to get into a more structured pricing approach if you've been pricing on a wing and a prayer, or, maybe even just give you a different view of a calculation and that might account for something you might have been missing to charge for, or, if anything, validate what you're already doing, which is great too. Okay, let's get into this week's makes. Now, spoiler alert, I made another goblin, but I think I mentioned in my last video that I wanted to make one more. So this is the Madeline Mayco little baby goblin, I think it's called. I've shown it a few times, but this time I made one in the green mystical. This is Bernat for the horns, and then I think I used the Premier Basics chenille for the accent color. It might be a Bernat scrap that I had left over. I can't remember, but super cute. Made some green eyes for him. I really do love this pattern. I think 3 is enough for me for my inventory, but yeah, he's super cute. And that just kind of, brought me a little bit of joy to make another one. And I also mentioned in last week's video that I was getting started on a pattern test for Sarah at Loops and Knots Crochet, and that was for her Buttercup the Bee pattern. Look at her. She is so stinking cute and she's a good size. This is all Naughty Pony with a 5.5 millimeter hook. And then I have 30 millimeter eyes in her. And I don't know if the camera picks up, but I used kind of a little bit of a honeycomb shaped darker glitter with the gold. But she is just so cute and so cuddly because Naughty Pony, if I can use Naughty Pony, I will. She's got her little wings. And it's such a unique take on a bee pattern. I love her so much, so, so much. So I will definitely list it for you to check out. And I loved this one so much that I decided to make another one. But of course, I had to make it in purple. This one is made all with Premier Parfait Chunky. So there's the white. I believe this is called Iris. And then Haze, I want to say, is the lighter purple. Again, 30 millimeter eyes that I hand painted. I don't know if the camera will pick up, but there's some glitter flowers in there. Yeah, and she's just so cute. This pattern is really great. And look at the size of this for, being Parfait Chunky. It is a great size. But yeah, I almost wanted to make one in blanket yarn because I thought to myself, that's going to be massive. But I also don't know, how these will go at a market. I don't know what the interest is in bees. And then let alone like a really massive bee. So I decided against making another one of those. But I do have a couple things on my hook, but nothing else completed to show you all. I'm hoping to have a few more for you next week. But I'm also trying to kind of get things together for some of these videos that I want to go through for preparing for 2026. And it's just a lot of little back end work and stuff like that. So I'm sure if you do this as well, you know what I mean. But I'm really, really glad I ended up not doing Vlogmas because I think I would have probably gotten myself a little overwhelmed. I'm watching other creators and just kind of like going, oh, I think I dodged a bullet on that one. If I prepare better next year, I think I'll be okay. But this year it would have been a little too much too fast for me. So and speaking of that, I don't know if anyone else is having this issue or if it's just because there's so many videos coming out right now with Vlogmas and everything, but I'm feeling like I have to go search for people that I'm subscribed to. I personally don't do the notification bell. I know that's a thing that you're supposed to do, but I get alerts for other things throughout the day. I don't want an alert, that a video is out. I never watch videos like right when they come out anyway. I will watch them when I can sit down and watch them or when I can listen to them while I'm crocheting or whatever it is. But I have noticed that a lot of my like homepage videos, there are a bunch of the ones that are people that I'm subscribed to, but then all of a sudden I'm like, what's happening with so and so? I haven't seen a video for them. And I'm thinking maybe they just didn't make a video, and then I'll go check and then I'll find videos on their channel. So there are a lot of fellow YouTubers that I try to support and make sure I'm in their comment section and stuff like that, because in this community, we're all just trying to support each other. This is a lot of work that it takes to do these, and I could appreciate that. So if you're someone who I typically watch and comment and you haven't seen me lately in the comment section, it's either because I haven't found the video yet or there have been so many in the feed with everybody's doing Vlogmas that I haven't gotten around to it yet. So I'm trying to play a little bit of catch up there. But anyway, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video here because otherwise I will continue to keep babbling. I hope the pricing tool was helpful for you. Again, if you have not already subscribed, please consider doing so. It helps me out a lot. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.